I lost everything at 50 until I discovered this 100-year-old secret to success. I never thought my life would fall apart at 50. I had always been the kind of person who believed that hard work and perseverance would guarantee success. I spent decades building a career, providing for my family, and striving to be the best version of myself. But life has a strange way of humbling us when we least expect it. One day, everything I had worked for began to unravel. I lost my job, the one I had poured my heart and soul into for years. The company I had dedicated my life to decided I was no longer essential. Just like that, I was replaced. The financial security I had taken for granted started slipping through my fingers. The fear of an uncertain future gripped me like a vice, but that wasn't the worst part. As the months passed, the strain of my situation seeped into my personal life. My marriage felt distant, my children seemed preoccupied with their own lives, and I began to feel invisible. I was no longer the strong, confident provider I once was. I was just another aging man, wondering if his best years were behind him. I was lost, until one day, by sheer coincidence, or perhaps fate, I stumbled upon an old book. It was a dusty, worn-out copy of The Game of Life and How to Play It, written nearly 100 years ago. The title alone intrigued me. I had nothing left to lose, so I started reading. At first, I was skeptical. How could a book written in the 1920s help me? But as I turned the pages, I felt something stir inside me. The book didn't just offer advice, it challenged everything I thought I knew about life, success, and the power of the mind. It was in those pages that I discovered something extraordinary, a truth so simple yet so powerful that it changed my life forever. And today I want to share that truth with you. Because if you've ever felt like time is slipping away, if you've ever wondered if you're too old to start over, if you've ever doubted your ability to turn things around, then this might be the most important story you'll ever hear. Let me take you back to the moment when everything started to change. Before I share how this book changed my life, I want to invite you to join this journey with me. If you're someone who believes that life can still be full of possibilities, no matter your age, then this is the place for you. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because together we'll uncover the wisdom and strategies that can transform your life just as they did mine. I wasn't always a believer in things like the power of the mind or manifestation. In fact, I used to scoff at people who talked about such things. I believed in hard work, discipline, and logic, not some abstract idea that my thoughts could shape my reality. But sometimes, life has a way of forcing you to reconsider everything you thought you knew. After I lost my job, I spent the first few weeks telling myself it was just a temporary setback. I dusted off my resume, sent out applications, and waited. I was sure that with my experience, finding another job would be easy. It wasn't. Weeks turned into months. Rejections piled up. At first, they were polite. "We regret to inform you that we've decided to go in another direction." But soon, I stopped hearing back at all. I started lowering my expectations, applying for positions far below my level of experience, just to keep the bills paid. But even those doors remained shut. Every morning, I'd sit at my computer scrolling through job listings, feeling like a ghost of my former self. And then came the day that broke me. It was a Thursday. I remember it vividly because it was the day I checked my bank account and realized that if things didn't change immediately, I wouldn't be able to pay next month's rent. Panic set in. I had never been in this position before. I had always been the provider, the one who made sure my family was secure. And yet there I was, a grown man, sitting at the kitchen table, staring at my dwindling finances, feeling utterly powerless. I tried to shake off the anxiety, but it was like a dark cloud pressing against my chest. My thoughts spiraled. What if I never find work again? What if I can't support my family? What if this is it, the beginning of the end? That night, I didn't sleep. My mind kept racing, replaying every mistake, every missed opportunity, every regret. By morning, I felt like a shell of a man, and that's when something strange happened. I was at a coffee shop, one of the few places I could escape to clear my head. I wasn't even drinking coffee. I was just sitting there, trying to avoid the crushing weight of my thoughts. That's when I noticed it. A small, old book sitting on the community bookshelf near the counter. Its cover was faded, the spine cracked from years of being opened and closed. The title, The Game of Life and How to Play It, by Florence Scovel Shinn. I had never heard of it before. Something about that title intrigued me. The Game of Life. My life sure didn't feel like a game. It felt like a war I was losing. On impulse, I picked it up and flipped to a random page. Whatever man sends out in word or deed will return to him. I frowned. It sounded like one of those clichés people throw around without really thinking about it. What you put out into the world comes back to you. Yeah, sure. Tell that to my empty bank account. Still, I kept reading. The book talked about how our words and thoughts shape our reality, that whatever we repeatedly focus on, whether good or bad, will manifest in our lives. I closed the book. Honestly, it felt like nonsense. I was a man who believed in action, not wishful thinking. If thoughts alone could change my life, then why wasn't everyone wildly successful? I almost put the book back on the shelf, but something, call it curiosity, desperation, made me slip it into my bag instead. That night I sat in bed and forced myself to read more. The book spoke about how words have power, that most people unknowingly curse themselves with negative statements. I never have enough money. Nothing ever works out for me. I'm too old to start over. According to the book, saying these things wasn't just expressing frustration, it was reinforcing a negative reality. Instead, it said, you had to speak as if you already had what you wanted. I found myself laughing. So what? I should just pretend I'm rich, like some kind of lunatic. But then I caught myself. Hadn't I been doing the opposite for months? Telling myself that I was struggling, broke, defeated, and hadn't my life reflected exactly that? I decided to try an experiment. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, and feeling ridiculous, I said, I am financially secure. Money flows easily to me. It felt fake. I didn't believe a word of it. But the book said belief would come with repetition, so I kept going. I did this every day for a week. And you know what happened? Nothing. No job offers. No unexpected checks in the mail. No sudden windfall. I felt like a fool. By the end of the week, I was ready to throw the book away. Clearly, it was just another self-help scam. But then, something unexpected happened. On Friday morning, I got a call from an old colleague I hadn't spoken to in years. Hey, he said, I heard through the grapevine that you're looking for work. I know someone who's hiring. Thought you might be interested. My heart pounded. I had never even told him I was job hunting. The job wasn't perfect, but it was something. And for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. Was it a coincidence? Maybe. But then, over the next few weeks, more small things started happening. I found a freelance gig that paid just enough to cover my rent. My wife, who had been distant, started opening up to me again. I even started feeling healthier, like the stress was finally lifting. It was subtle, nothing earth-shattering, but the shift was real. And that's when I realized, maybe this book wasn't about instant miracles. Maybe it wasn't about wishing for money and having it fall from the sky. Maybe it was about shifting my mindset, just enough to start attracting opportunities instead of repelling them. So I decided to go all in. I know what you might be thinking. That's just luck. That won't happen to me. I would have thought the same thing if I hadn't lived it myself. But let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed that when you expect things to go wrong, they usually do? Have you ever felt stuck in a cycle of bad luck where one problem just leads to another? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract success while others struggle endlessly? This isn't just a theory, it's a pattern. And once you recognize it, you can start changing it. What I'm about to share next is what truly transformed my life, the key lessons I learned from this book, how I applied them, and how you can too. I thought things were finally starting to turn around. That first small win, getting a call about a job, had given me hope. I believed that if I just kept applying the principles from the game of life and how to play it, things would continue to improve. But what I didn't realize was that life doesn't work in a straight line. Sometimes, before things get better, they get much, much worse. After that phone call, I was convinced I'd get the job. I updated my resume, prepped for the interview, and walked in feeling confident. I had been telling myself every day, I am financially secure. I attract the perfect job. But by the time I walked out of the interview, my stomach was in knots. The interviewer barely looked at me. He skimmed through my resume like it was an afterthought. After 15 minutes of rushed, impersonal questions, he ended the meeting with a flat, "We'll be in touch." I knew what that meant. Days passed, no response. Then, a generic rejection email landed in my inbox. "We have decided to go with another candidate." The sting of failure hit me harder than I expected. I did everything right. I kept a positive mindset. I repeated the affirmations. I believed in this. I was furious at the book, at myself, at the universe. I felt like a fool, and then things got worse. That week, my car broke down. Not a minor fix, something major, something expensive, the kind of problem that sends a shiver down your spine when the mechanic says, "You might want to sit down for this." I didn't have the money. I was already behind on bills, already struggling to make rent. And now, without a car, I couldn't even get to interviews. That night, sitting alone in my apartment, I stared at the ceiling and thought, maybe I should just give up. The negative thoughts came flooding back. This is all a lie. I'm too old to start over. Some people are just meant to struggle, and I'm one of them. I had tried the book's teachings, and yet here I was, broke, rejected, stranded. For the first time in my life, I felt truly, deeply hopeless. But then, in the darkness of that moment, something strange happened. I reached for the book, not because I believed it anymore, but because in my lowest moment, I had nothing else left to hold on to. I flipped through the pages, looking for something, anything, that could explain why everything was going wrong when I was trying so hard to do things right. And then I found it. Before a big manifestation, one often faces their biggest test. It is the moment where faith is most crucial. I read those words over and over. Is that what this is? A test? The book was telling me that this wasn't the time to quit. It was the time to double down. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to let the rejection, the financial struggle, or the broken car shake my belief. If this was a test, I was going to pass it. I went all in. No more half-hearted affirmations. No more doubting the process. For the next 30 days, I committed myself to practicing every single principle from the book with absolute faith. 1. Speaking only positive words. Book warned that negative words could bring negative circumstances. I realized I had been complaining too much about money, about rejection, about everything. So I stopped. I refused to say, "I can't afford this." Instead, I started saying, "Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways." I stopped saying, "No one is hiring me." Instead, I said, "The right opportunity is already on its way." 2. Visualizing success like it was already happening. I spent 10 minutes every morning and night visualizing myself working a great job, feeling the joy of a steady paycheck, the pride of contributing again. Not just picturing it, but truly feeling it. 3. Giving without fear. The book talked about the law of circulation, how money flows to those who don't hold on to it in fear. That concept scared me. How could I give when I barely had anything? But I forced myself to test it. One morning I tipped my barista double what I usually did. It wasn't much, just a few extra dollars, but it was a statement to the universe. I am not living in lack. I trust that more will come. 4. Letting go of the how. I had spent months obsessing over how I was going to get out of my situation. The book said, stop, trust, let go. So I did. Instead of trying to control every outcome, I focused on staying open to opportunities. At first, nothing happened, but then, one day, something shifted. It started small. A friend I hadn't spoken to in years called me out of the blue. He had no idea about my situation. He just wanted to catch up. But in the middle of our conversation, he mentioned that his company was looking for someone with my exact skills. I got an unexpected refund in the mail. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to cover my overdue bill. A stranger paid for my coffee, a small act of kindness, but it felt like a wink from the universe, like something had shifted. These weren't massive changes, but they were. Enough to reignite my belief. I doubled down, I kept speaking positively, I kept visualizing, I kept trusting, and then the big moment came. 2 weeks later I got a call. Not just any call, it was for a job. A better job than the one I lost. More pay, more flexibility, and a company that valued my experience. I sat there holding the phone in complete disbelief. This wasn't just a coincidence. This was a direct result of shifting my mindset, of applying the lessons from the book. With absolute commitment. The test had ended, I had passed, and now life was opening its doors for me in ways I never imagined. I share this story because I know someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe you're struggling right now. Maybe you're questioning whether it's too late for you to turn things around. I'm here to tell you, it's not too late. If I could change my life after losing everything, after feeling completely broken, then so can you. You don't have to believe me. Just try it. Try shifting your words, your thoughts, your energy. See what happens. I promise you, life is listening, and when you're ready, it will start responding. Getting that job offer felt like stepping into a new world. It was as if all the struggle, the self-doubt, and the frustration had been leading up to this moment. But what I didn't realize at the time was that this was just the beginning. See, most people think that once they achieve their first breakthrough, their work is done. That once they get the job, the money, the relationship, or whatever they've been manifesting, life will just magically fall into place. But what I learned, the hard way, is that if you don't keep reinforcing the mindset that got you there in the first place, you can just as easily lose everything again. So after landing the job, I made a critical decision. I wasn't just going to stop here. I was going to master this. I wasn't just going to use these principles when I was desperate. I was going to make them a permanent part of my life, and that's when everything truly changed. The first few weeks at my new job were great. I felt alive again, like I had a purpose. My confidence returned, and for the first time in years, I wasn't waking up with a knot in my stomach. But then, out of nowhere, fear crept back in. One night, I found myself lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, what if I lose this job too? What if this is just temporary and everything falls apart again? What if I can't keep up? It was like my mind was trying to pull me back into my old patterns of fear and doubt, and I realized something crucial. Just because I had changed my life didn't mean my old programming had disappeared. So instead of giving in to those thoughts, I fought back. 1. Using the power of words. Every single day, I had already learned that words shape reality, but I had to take it further. Instead of just repeating affirmations once in the morning, I started speaking them throughout the day. When doubt crept in, I immediately countered it with, I am secure in my success. This job is the perfect fit for me. Opportunities flow to me effortlessly. I said these things even when I didn't feel them, and slowly, my mind started to believe them. 2. The law of circulation, giving without fear. I'll be honest, even after getting my job, I was still afraid to spend money. I had spent so many months in survival mode that I was scared to let go of any of it. What if I needed it later? What if another disaster struck? Then I remembered a core lesson from the game of life and how to play it. Whatever a man gives, he will receive. I'd already seen a glimpse of this when I tipped my barista that extra amount, so I decided to test it on a bigger scale. At the time, I had just enough to pay my bills and start saving again. But instead of hoarding it in fear, I did something that felt completely irrational to my old self. I donated to a charity that helped struggling families. I helped a friend cover an unexpected expense. I paid for a stranger's meal at a restaurant. It felt scary, but the results unbelievable. A week later, my company unexpectedly gave me a raise, not because I asked, but because they said they valued my contribution. A side project I had been working on suddenly brought in extra income. An old acquaintance called out of nowhere, offering me an investment opportunity that paid off big time. At that moment, I understood something deeply. The more you fear losing, the more you block abundance, but the more you trust, the more life gives back. 3. Letting go of control. Trusting the process. Even after everything, I still had moments where I caught myself trying to force things. I wanted to control every little detail. I wanted to know exactly where money would come from. I wanted guarantees before I took risks. But the book said something profound. Man's part is to prepare for his blessings, but never force them. So I started practicing detachment. Instead of worrying about how things would happen, I just focused on being ready when they did. Instead of forcing opportunities, I let them flow naturally. Instead of chasing success, I allowed it to come to me, and it worked. A new business opportunity came to me effortlessly. Relationships in my life improved without me trying to fix them. Money showed up from unexpected places, bonuses, gifts, new opportunities, because I finally understood the universe rewards those who trust. It's been over a year since I found the game of life and how to play it. I went from being a man who had lost everything, his job, his confidence, his sense of purpose, to someone who wakes up every morning excited for life. I don't live in fear anymore. I don't worry about money anymore. I don't question whether I'm too old to succeed, because now I know life will always reflect back what you put into it. If you live in fear, life will give you more things to fear. If you live in faith, life will give you reasons to trust. And the best part, this isn't just my story, this can be your story too. If you've made it this far, then I know one thing about you. You're searching for something. Maybe you're struggling. Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you're just wondering if there's still time for you to turn things around. Let me tell you, there is. Here's what I want you to do. Stop speaking negatively. Catch yourself every time you say something limiting about money, about age, about success. Replace it with something empowering. Visualize your success like it's already happening. Not someday, not if I'm lucky. Right now, give freely, even if it's small, even if it scares you. Watch what happens. Trust the process. Stop trying to control every outcome. Get ready for blessings, but don't force them. If I could sit down with the version of myself from a year ago, the man who was drowning in fear and doubt, I would tell him this. You are not stuck. You are not too old. You are not out of chances. Everything you want is already waiting for you. The only thing left to do is believe in it. And that's what I want to tell you too. Your life can change. All you have to do is start. Looking back, I can hardly recognize the person I was before. The man who once sat in darkness, consumed by fear and doubt, is gone. In his place stands someone who knows, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that life is meant to be abundant, fulfilling, and full of opportunities. And the greatest revelation of all? The power to create that life was always within me. But here's what I want you to understand. It's not just within me, it's within you, too. Everything you've been waiting for, the breakthrough, the financial security, the renewed sense of purpose, it's already waiting for you. The only thing standing between you and the life you deserve is your belief in it. The moment you decide, truly decide, that you are worthy of more, that you are capable of change, that you are not too old, too late, or too broken to start fresh, everything will shift. If you've made it this far, I know something about you. You are ready. Maybe you don't fully believe it yet. Maybe you still have doubts. But deep inside, there's a voice telling you that there's more for you in this life. Listen to it. So, here's my challenge for you. For the next 30 days, commit to changing the way you speak about your life. Stop saying, I can't afford this, I'm too old for this, or I'll never be successful. Start saying, I attract abundance. Opportunities come to me effortlessly, and I am capable of success at any stage of life. Practice gratitude every single day. No matter what your situation looks like right now, find something to be grateful for. Gratitude opens doors you never even knew existed. Give without fear. It doesn't have to be money. It can be time, kindness, or encouragement. But give freely and watch what happens. Let go of control. Stop obsessing over how things will happen. Trust that as long as you take inspired action, the right doors will open. Forgive and love freely. Holding on to resentment blocks blessings. Release old wounds, forgive yourself and others, and open your heart to love. The universe mirrors the energy you put out. When you send love, love finds its way back to you. I promise you, if you commit to this, your life will change, because life is always listening, and when you send out the right energy, life will respond. I didn't share my story just to inspire you. I shared it because I want you to experience this transformation for yourself. So, if this resonated with you, if something in your heart is telling you that this is the message you needed to hear, then I invite you to take the next step. Subscribe to this channel for more insights on how to apply these principles in your daily life. Drop a comment below and tell me, what is one change you are going to make starting today? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. This is not the end of my journey, and it's not the end of yours either. Your life is waiting. Are you ready to step into it?